All right, guys, great to see you under these circumstances. It's always good to see you. It's always good to see you, but it's really good to see you under these circumstances. So, really excited about this opportunity and this challenge in front of us. I think when you do this, you certainly understand it's not an entitlement. Getting to the NCAA tournament, it's something that is got to be earned, and it's hard. It's hard to earn those, and it's hard to consistently earn those. When you look back at kind of our storied history, you obviously have in different times, but in the '60s, 4 times. One of those obviously being a national championship, our only national championship. The '70s, 1 time. '80s, 5 times. '90s, 4 times. 2000 to 2010, 7 times, and 2011, and counting here, 6 and counting, but never more than 3 years in a row until Coach Mata went, I believe, 7 years in a row from 2009 to 2015. So when you think about how hard it is to consistently a program that has had the number of really good players that we've had and number of really good coaches that we've had, and until that 09-15 stretch, we had never been more than 3 straight years. It's a reality check on how hard this is to consistently get there. And obviously, we want to be there as long as we can. We know we've got work to do, but to go here is a real credit, I think, to our players, and I think in so many ways a real credit to Keyshawn, or let me begin with CJ, Keyshawn, Joey Lane, Andre Wesson, those upperclassmen who have kind of steered the ship and allowed us to be here. So those guys deserve a lot of credit, and I bristle when I hear that those guys are constantly getting criticized, but they deserve to enjoy this moment, and when we know we've got some work ahead of us this week. So excited about what's ahead. Obviously, Iowa State, we're digging into them. They're obviously a really good team, having just won the Big 12 tournament pretty convincingly.
You came in with obviously somewhat of expected to be somewhat of a rebuilding year and somewhat of a limited roster, and you've always said that your second year at a program is your most challenging year. Against the backdrop of all of that, what did it feel like for you to see Ohio State pop up and to know that you made it this year? Really exciting.
I got to be honest with you, I was a little nervous after you go through that first bracket. And you see Belmont and Temple get in what is, I guess, the play-in game, because you knew that it probably eliminated 1 or 2 teams. As I told Gene Smith, yesterday I felt we were solidly on the 11 line, maybe even a 10. As each hour passed today and I studied the numbers, I studied myself into absolute paranoia. And I just had to stop. Thank God we had practice, so I could just stop looking at it. And, I had us on the last, I was worried. I got I just got too worked up. But it was really rewarding. Our players have earned this. Players win games. We have really good players that have stepped up at important times, and obviously we've had our struggles. We have. There's no doubting that, and we all take responsibility for that. But we've also won some games, and we won some important games. Certainly beginning with our very first one.
What did it it take for a roster? You come in the season with certain expectations, maybe. What did it take for this team to prove that it could play at this level and that it could reach the tournament? What did this team have to show, or what did this team have to get from where you were on day one to where you are today?
Well, I do think that we had to play well in the Big Ten tournament. But looking overall, I think we had to have a much different identity than last year's team, and we had to find that identity pretty quickly because of who we opened up with. So I think that was the challenge. It wasn't like, okay, you're going to play your way into figuring out who you are. We had to be pretty good on opening night, or else you're missing out on an opportunity that could prove valuable, and it obviously proved very valuable. But I think it was such a I don't know. I don't know. I do know. We've never coached a team where it's been this number of new faces, and you're trying to figure out with each passing day who we are and who we're becoming, and that's been the challenge. And listen, it's been a challenging year in a lot of ways, but to see your name called is pretty special.
Chris, you tend to pay some attention to the projections and things about your team. When you think back to October, and I don't know if you were collecting them or putting them in the folder or whatever, did you think that they were off base? Did you think that you had an NCAA tournament team all along? How did you think that matched up to the expectation for this team?
I thought we would have to play well. I did. I thought it was, if we played well, I thought it could be very, very close. If we had guys step into new roles and increased roles, which we've seen with a number of guys who have, Caleb's better, Andre's better, Keyshawn has really helped us, our freshmen have helped us, Kyle Young stepped up. I thought if we had some of that, we would have a chance. But no, I did not look at the projections and say, how can you when we lost what we lost? And those guys, those four seniors, were all very impactful. And beyond their play, one of my biggest concerns was our overall leadership. We weren't perfect in that area by any stretch. But I did not look at them and say those. I knew the league was good and was going to be really good, so I didn't look at 8th, 9th, 10th, or whatever, 7th, and say they don't know what they're talking about. It seemed right.
You touched on the history of the program, and Adam asked you about this kind of being the transitional year, difficult year. For you and the program as a whole to go 2 for 2 now, how significant is that? I know it's anytime you go to the tournament, it's meaningful, but just to start your career here with 2 bids has got to be pretty meaningful.
Very meaningful. I think it's meaningful to me. I think you just can't explain how happy you are when you see your seniors' faces happy. Keyshawn, the reason he came here was to play in the NCAA tournament. It was the reason, basically. It wasn't me. He basically came here and said, "Hey, I'm putting my faith in you that I can get there and play." And he's played in one before. It was in Dayton, but and then you obviously want that for CJ and Joey. And so I don't know if I can overstate how important it is. And, it's so much better than the alternative.
Chris, you knew last year that you were in the tournament, had the watch party here and everything.
We did.
How did those 2 days leading up to the selection last year compare to this year when you didn't know if you were going to be in or not? What's that comparison like between those two
Miserable.
outcomes?
Much better last year. Way better. Slept better. Then it was just, you're looking at kind of 5, 12 games, which are really dangerous games, and it proved to be really dangerous for us last year. You're kind of looking at, when it was 4, 5, or 6 last year. This year we thought 10, 11 playing. It's kind of what we thought. But, like I said, I talked myself out of everything in the leading hours. But yeah, I've never really been in this place. The other 4 times, you kind of knew. One year we were an 8 or a 9, but you pretty much know at that point you're going to be in. here I felt strongly, but you also you read enough stuff and you know you don't know.
You talked about reading some of that stuff. You know, there's so many different
Yeah.
things that factor into a quad one wins, you
Yeah.
know, net ratings, you know, stuff like that. Just how exhausting does that get, just looking at all the different metrics sometimes, especially when you're kind of on that bubble trying to see if you're going to be in?
Yeah, and I didn't start looking at it really until we had talked about it, and still really the last probably 2 weeks. And you know, I felt like after the Iowa game, if we got one more win, we were going to be in good shape because of no bad losses, you know, in non-conference, and your road wins, which are important to the committee. Can you win away from home? So, but it took us a while to get that other win there. So it was dicey there.
Iowa State, don't know if you had a chance last night to flip over and see them play Kansas for the championship in that league, but what off the top of your head do you know about Iowa State, or have you seen or heard? I know you had one of their players here for a visit, I think, Horton Tucker.
Yeah, we
is
did.
that it?
He's
Yeah.
terrific. Taylor Horton Tucker's terrific. Transfer for Virginia is really good, really good. I've watched them a little bit because they're on TV a lot. So you have a chance occasionally to watch other leagues, you know. But I've not watched them a ton. I've not studied them. I just know you have to be really good to win your conference tournament in that league. And probably they were my guess is the number one of the 6 seeds. I would guess they very easily could have been a 5 seed. So, you know, we'll need to play really well.
How about Coach Prom? Anything about his background? Have you ever gone against any of his teams or
No, but I know
crossed
Steve.
paths with him?
No, Steve. We spoke at a clinic together, Illinois clinic last year. Steve does a really good job. They've always been very, very hard to guard. Steve is a really good man and a really good coach. Really good coach.
Were you in that room with the rest of the team watching
Yes.
together? What was the mood
I was
of
under
that?
the couch, just ducking. Just tell me good news when we get it. I was in the room.
What was the mood of that when you guys see the first couple regions go by and you think you're in, but like you said, you talked yourself out of it?
Yeah, I mean it was a tense room, very quiet room, with the exception of Terry Johnson's crazy boys. They were playing in a side room. We had like 15 little kids with the door shut in a playroom right beside us. So apart from them being loud and obnoxious, it was, and they are loud and obnoxious, by the way. They're great kids, but they're loud and obnoxious. It was tense in the room, you know, just because you got 2 more regions, and you kind of know you're in that slot of 11, so you're running out of options. It was, I mean, you could hear a pin drop when Iowa State came up, because we knew, hey, is that going to be us?
You've talked about Keyshawn Woods came to Ohio State to get to the tournament, and he said that just before you were here. Was he in your head the last 2 days of, I know that he entrusted me with this, and I hope that he gets this?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think you feel that responsibility as a coach. You do. I mean, you feel it to all of your guys, but obviously players win games. We know how special he was really the last 2 days, but certainly Indiana, and he was off to a great start in the Michigan State game until some things got in the way of that. But you know, he was tremendous.
Just from the way you're talking, about it, have you ever been this stressed out over a 48-hour period?
I mean, in general,
No, just with waiting to see if you're going to make a tournament.
No.
Were the other ones this stressful?
no. I mean, what was it, 6 last year? No, 5 last year, 4 the year before at Butler, a 9 and a 6. So at that point, you're in. Now the 9 year, the last 2 weeks were similar, but you know, lose a really important player for us, and we finished with a couple wins that got us. So no, I've never been in this position, and I don't think guys on the previous staff have been. They've either been way in or way out, or considerably out.
Keyshawn said he just didn't watch basketball after you guys lost. He
Yeah.
went and saw a movie. He did everything but watch basketball. Did you watch the rest of the Big Ten tournament or any other teams, or did you kind
No,
of check
I went
out
recruiting. I did watch a little bit of I was just curious how Michigan State would play after us, so I watched a little of that game, and then I watched a little of the game today. But your thoughts are really on other things. But I went recruiting after the game. Saw one of our kids that was in the state championship game. So.
Kind of a follow-up on these guys' questions. They've asked you a lot about what the mood was like before the reveal, but at the point where 11 Ohio State is unveiled, did you break out cupcakes? Did you give a speech? I mean, what was that moment like?
Have you seen the video?
I have not.
Yeah, we check our Twitter feed. It's a pretty cool moment. Yeah, with those guys celebrated, and it was real. It was real. They knew what kind of where we're at and what was at stake. There's a video we put out. I think our guys put it out on Twitter. But it was really cool. It was really cool.
I know that Kyle is okay. Kyle Arns, not
Yes.
Young. But, one of my hobbies is worrying. So if I had watched my brother go through that, I'd still be a little stressed. How was Justin today?
He's good. We told him right after practice. We were in practice, and Scooney and someone else came and told me that his brother had went down. So we obviously waited until the end of practice and just said, hey, he's okay. It looks like x-rays are going to, he's going to be okay. So we did share that with him. Yeah, he was concerned.
So you described the Big Ten as kind of this physical, conference and playing every single opponent, the physicality they bring. I'm just wondering, watching casually or just from what you've seen, how you would describe Big 12 basketball, what you see out of those?
Probably similar. The pace is a little bit different, I think. It's a little bit faster paced league, I think. That's my understanding. Iowa State has super versatile team and very versatile pieces. But I think the pace is a little bit faster.
Chris, you seem a little emotional right now. Is this a culmination of excitement? Is this relief? What are you feeling right now as you're setting up at that podium?
Just excitement, really. Excitement, and I don't know if it's relief or not, but just excited about what's next. Excited about preparing our guys for the challenge. That's really how I feel.
Does the stress over the last 2 days make you hungrier, or does it make this process harder?
Does it make this process what?
Harder.
No, I think it probably does make you hungrier because you're grateful that you're in and that you're included, and now, I really did feel like we played some really good minutes of basketball at the Big Ten tournament. So I think there's part of that too. Is can we carry that over? And obviously it's a week apart, but I felt good about a lot of the moments we played in that. So yeah, I think you're really hungry to see. We know we're playing an outstanding team, and we know it's a beauty of the NCAA tournament. You don't play well, you're going home. But sure, it makes you hungry.
I've now watched your video.
Okay.
And now I want to know what happened after those 22 seconds.
Yeah, we watched a little more. We celebrated. We hugged. We hug after every win. It's a requirement. Our staff has to hug, so we hugged it out. And I just talked to the team for a minute about the schedule. I told them they had tomorrow off. They were pretty happy about that because it's obviously I don't think I've ever played on Friday and the other 4 times, so it's a little bit unique. But they just hung around, played with the kids, ate a little more food, and I started to talk about travel with David, and then the video staff was back loading Iowa State games on our computer. So it's a little bit different because you have an extra day to prepare, but we'll be spending a lot of time in the office here tonight.
What happens to hug rules? violators.
No, you got to hug it out. You mean if they don't hug?
If they fail to, what is it, like push-ups or?
No, I mean it's staff. The staff, yeah, it's kind of a bro hug. We hug it out, and it's part of winning, part of enjoying winning. So.
Who gives the best hug on the team?
It's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. It's a good question.
So what is next? You mentioned the video guys, but like,
So, we'll go back. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. So we'll go upstairs right now, and there'll be every, basically the last 5 to 8 Iowa State games on the computer, and we'll watch individually, and then we'll watch collectively more tomorrow, and we'll meet. And tomorrow will be a big day to try to put in our game plan, and what that's really tomorrow and part of Tuesday. That's going to be important.
who's sort of like the behind-the-scenes sort of heroes that get everything ready so you guys can start formulating that game plan?
Great question. Kyle Davis is video coordinator. Robbie Rucky, they stayed back. We got pizza for them. All of our managers are here working and have loaded. The beauty is, they researched and kind of guessed. They guessed who we would play. Last year they guessed South Dakota State. Now, a number of teams. They guessed 4 or 5, but South Dakota State was one of them. And I think they had Iowa State and Buffalo and a few other ones in this one. So we've got everything on our computers ready to go right now. So anything else? All right, guys. Thank you.